Attention shoppers, clean up on aisle 14. Clean up on aisle 14. Someone dropped a jar of pickles. Pickles. Kosher pickles.
Beatboxing at a big box store. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
A red minivan has the lights on in the parking lot.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Geico.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Yo! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio, coming at you via over 250 markets throughout the United States of America, and of course, Sirius XM, ESPN's channel, Sirius XM channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. We all know what the story is today. It's Friday. We've got NFL weekend, playoff weekend. We've got the Tennessee Titans going to Kansas City. We've got the Buffalo Bills going to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. We've got the Atlanta Falcons traveling out to La to play the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles. And, of course, what I consider to be the game of the weekend, the Carolina Panthers led by Cam Newton going up against the New Orleans Saints, who I believe should be the favorites to come out of the NFC, courtesy of Drew Brees and a dynamic duo at the running back spot in Mr. Ingram and, of course, potential rookie of the year, Alvin Kamara. There's a lot of stuff to get into, but the number one story is a story that was written by Mr. Seth Wickersham, ESPN senior writer, with the headline on ESPN.com that states, for Kraft, Brady, and Bill Belichick, is this the beginning of the end? Question mark. And obviously there's a lot of stuff that goes into this story. A whole bunch of stuff that goes into this story. Lots of things to contemplate and think about and really, really dissect. And by the way, Mr. Seth Wickersham himself will join the show in less than 30 minutes because this was his reporting, which has been generating the news wires. I mean, they're just generating everything in the news on this particular day. And essentially what it comes down to is this. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are not on the same page. In fact, they appear to be practically on the outs with one another. And Nuno and you guys, if you can, could you get the statement up from the New England Patriots for me on the screen so I can read it in just a little bit? Because it's time for, you listen, there's no way around it. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Let me tell you something. This is a big, big deal. Because it's basically highlighting that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are not on the same page. That essentially owner Robert Kraft elected to support Tom Brady instead of Bill Belichick. And as a result, change appears to be on the horizon in Foxborough, Massachusetts. I got to tell you something right now. This is something else. It really, really is. Statements from Patriots. Patriots issued a joint statement from Chairman and CEO Robert Kraft, Coach Bill Belichick, and quarterback Tom Brady after the ESPN.com story published. And it said here, quote, for the past 18 years, the three of us have enjoyed a very good and productive working relationship. In recent days, there have been multiple media reports that have speculated theories that are unsubstantiated, highly exaggerated, or flat out inaccurate. The three of us share a common goal. We look forward to the enormous challenge of competing in the postseason and the opportunity to work together in the future. Okay? That's what it's saying. Just as we have for 18 years. It's unfortunate that there's even a need for us to respond to these fallacies. As our actions have shown, we stand united. Don Yee, the agent for both Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo, also issued a statement regarding the ESPN story on Friday. In that statement, it says, quote, statement from Brady. I don't really know what to say. It's tough to have a response since it didn't appear to me to have one on the record quote. All I can suggest is don't believe everything you read. That's Tom Brady. Nothing specific, everything relatively vague, nothing specifically being shot down, although words like flat out inaccurate, fallacies, highly exaggerated, unsubstantiated, they all ring true. They all ring substantive, rather. And let's go down the list because there's a lot of stuff to get into. TB12, Tom Brady's brand, his relationship with some fitness guru, Alex Guerrero, who's Brady's trainer, body coach, and now business partner. Once upon a time had the support of Bill Belichick. Now it seems one of the greatest mistakes Bill Belichick could have ever made in the eyes of Bill Belichick because he doesn't seem to support this guy at all. He has spoken against other trainers, meaning Guerrero. He has spoken against other trainers within the Patriots organization. He has spoken against them. You've had players that have been divided to wanting to seek treatment from him, but knowing that it would be to the chagrin of Bill Belichick. That's a big element. The biggest element in all of this appears to be the fact that Bill Belichick was a fan of Jimmy Garoppolo, did not want Jimmy Garoppolo to depart, did not want to move him, and ultimately had his hand forced by Mr. Robert Kraft. That's what resonates here. Tom Brady wants to play 4 to 5 more years. Bill Belichick's mentality appears to be there must be something. I'm witnessing somewhat of a decline in Tom Brady. It may be time to move on to another era beyond Tom Brady. And Robert Kraft said no way because Tom Brady said no way. Which brings into question a multitude of things. Number one, should the Patriots have moved Garoppolo? Number two, how much faith should the Patriots have in Tom Brady? And have we seen a decline in Tom Brady? I don't think I have. Number three, if you had to part ways with somebody, particularly if you were Robert Kraft, who would you want to leave? Would it be Tom Brady or would it be Bill Belichick? Number four, and I brought this up on First Take, my television show that airs every weekday from 10 a.m. to noon, Eastern Standard Time on ESPN with my man Max Kellerman. And, of course, Molly Curran. Let me tell you something. Even though Teddy Bruschi shot it down today, I asked the question, what about the Deflategate? What role did that play? Because if you recall, Bill Belichick basically left Tom Brady to hang and dry. Just said, why don't you ask the quarterback about that? I don't know anything about deflated footballs. I have nothing to do with that. So Tom Brady was left on his own to defend himself. Who knows whether or not Tom Brady is still salty about that to this very day. This is the kind of things that you got to think about. It really, really is. And when Teddy Bruschi was on First Take today, I asked him a question. Who do you think Robert Kraft would choose? Tom or Bill? Listen to what Teddy Bruschi had to say.
You would look toward the future of the organization and you're going towards a coach. Because I think Mr. Kraft also can look down the line and see Tom's not going to play. He wants 45. I've even talked to Tom. I'm like, 45, man, are you sure? He thinks, yes, it's going to be 45, Teddy B. But I'm like, come on, I'll give you 42. Things like that. So I've got to think that Mr. Kraft would think of the head coach and that. So I don't know, to further on the point, would Mr. Kraft ever take it upon himself to say, I've chosen upon these two quarterbacks, I'm going with Brady? That's never had a situation when I was there. We were never put in a situation like that. Tom was in his heyday back then, so that would be news to me also.
One of the other things we have to consider is an article that was written in the New York Times back in 2015 when Tom Brady's father said this, quote, "It will end badly. It does end badly. And I know that because I know what Tommy wants to do. He wants to play till he's 70. Tom Brady's father noted the drafting of Garoppolo and said the Patriots smartly didn't want to be caught with their pants down, as the Colts were when Peyton Manning was injured a few years ago. Brady Sr. continued, "It's a cold business, and for as much as you want it to be, family. It isn't. It will end badly. That's what he said. Here's the question. In the end, for who? Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? 888-729-3776. It's 888-SAY-ESPN. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
Lots of stuff to get into. I'll get to your calls in just a little while, but I want to get back to this conversation about the Patriots and about Tom Brady. Let me be very, very clear about where I stand. There's a lot of people out there who are under this belief. You know what? Patriots right now look like damn fools for letting go of Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, stop it. Just stop it. Jimmy G. He got a nickname now. So you went to San Francisco with no pressure whatsoever because they already stunk. Y'all wasn't going to win any games. You're going to be in last place this season. So you come up in there and you play pretty well. You go undefeated in 5 games. Major props to you. Look pretty damn good against Jacksonville. Look pretty damn good in the comeback victory to beat the Texans. The Titans. Look good closing out the season. You're 5-0. He's 7-0 as a starter. I got it. Jimmy G. Jimmy Garoppolo. The brother can play. I got it. I understand. But I ask a simple question. As rhetorical as it may be. Can we really get real about this? Can we ask ourselves a question? Can we be fair? Tom Brady is a 5-time champion. I understand he's 40. But he is a 5-time champion, having yet another MVP caliber season, swearing that he wants to play at least 4 more years. Are you benching that brother or throwing him to the wolves so Jimmy G can play? Are you serious? Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about somebody hobbling around who's clearly done, but you owe him for his years of service. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about somebody that's on their last leg and it's looking like this could be the end. I'm not talking about that. I'm asking a simple, serious question. You shoving Tom Brady aside for Jimmy Garoppolo? Just like that, huh? Because you started 7 games? That's why you're doing that? You started 4 games. You started 2 games for the New England Patriots last year. This year, remember, he went 5-0 in San Francisco. But all you had was 2 starts, and obviously what you've tutored him into becoming to lean on. He ain't Tom Brady. Now, in this same report with Mr. Seth Wickersham, that Seth Wickersham reported on, and by the way, he'll be on with us in about 10 minutes. This same report, it's talking about how when Garoppolo got injured and he went to the TB12 Center to get treatment from Mr. Guerrero, Tom Brady's trainer, doors were locked, couldn't even get in. And nobody would see him. Now, some would sit up there and say, Tom Brady's got something to do about that. And if Tom Brady has something to do with it, that's real, real low. That's real, real low. Here's my point. Perhaps. But if you still plan on playing and you still plan on winning, and this is what you're about and this is what you're trying to do, if that's what this is about, why should he help Jimmy Garoppolo? If I'm Tom Brady and I'm a champion 4 times over at the time, and you started because I was suspended for the first 4 games of last season, and you're hell-bent on showing that you still a man, and this is what you bring to the table, and you ain't nowhere near finished, why am I trying to help you? Isn't that fair? Now, some people sit up there, you know what? Everybody loved Brett Favre. They didn't get on Brett Favre for not helping Aaron Rodgers. They didn't get on Joe Montana for not helping Steve Young. Why are we getting on Tom Brady if he wasn't anxious to help Jimmy Garoppolo? It's just a question. It's just a question. 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. That is the number to call. I take phone calls. I see people tweeting at me. I'm going to be on Facebook. People going to try to communicate with me there. I don't run from anybody or anything. It is what it is. But these are legitimate questions that have to be asked. Because I got news for you. Tom Brady's phenomenal. Tom Brady's great. But is Tom Brady more valuable than Bill Belichick? I don't know about that. Tom Brady helped make Bill Belichick, no doubt about that. But Bill Belichick was the one that gave him the opportunity to do so when he elected to keep Drew Bledsoe on the bench once he came back from an injury. Bill Belichick looks forward. It worked for him with Tom Brady. It might have worked with him with Jimmy Garoppolo. But if I'm Mr. Robert Kraft, I don't know if I've got a 5-time champion looking me in the face and telling me he wants to play at least 4 more years. And I'm watching Tom Brady perform the way that he performed, then I'm going to just shove that aside. You got folks talking about, well, they've seen some slippage in Tom Brady the last 5 weeks. I didn't see that slippage against Pittsburgh when it counted. I didn't see that slippage against anybody when it counted. Not to mention the fact that Julian Edelman has been out all season long. That's his primary target. Rob Gronkowski was gone for one of those games due to that cheap shot hit to the back of the neck of a Buffalo Bill. Brandon Cooks is new to this equation. He wasn't here all of these years. It takes a while to develop a deep threat obligation or a deep threat option. What's Mr. Kraft supposed to do? Some would sit up there and say, you're supposed to side with Bill Belichick, whatever the man wants to do. Well, Bill Belichick works for me. Oh, you know what? Maybe you should go with Tom Brady. Maybe you should. Lots of questions. Lots of question marks. Obviously, we're looking for answers. And again, the New England Patriots are calling the story unsubstantiated, highly fabricated, fallacies, and all of this other stuff. Well, here's the thing with the New England Patriots. If the story was true, would you admit it? Probably not. So your denials don't particularly matter. To me, in the end, this is much ado about nothing. Why? Because Jimmy Garoppolo is gone. If Jimmy Garoppolo was here, that would be different. Because now you got to make a decision. But because the decision has already been made, Bill Belichick, what you going to do? Take the Detroit Lions job? Ask for complete control of the New York Giants. You ran from New York once to go to Foxborough when you had an opportunity to run the Jets. What you going to do? Take the New York Giants job? You ain't taking that job. They already hired their GM in Gettleman. We'll go to Detroit. That's a black cat running around that franchise. They can't do anything right. Just my thought. Just my thoughts.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Breaking news. The Oakland Raiders of the National Football League have announced that there will be a press conference this Tuesday, at which time it is fully expected, via reports from Raiders Snake Pit and ESPN and Lord knows everybody else, that John Gruden, colleague here at ESPN, voice of Monday Night Football, former coach with the Raiders, former coach with the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, will be the next head coach of the Oakland Raiders. The contract will be for 10 years, likely to be worth about $100 million. So he'll be getting approximately $10 million a year, approximately. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's not far off the course because Sean Payton for the New Orleans Saints is getting $9 million a year. Chiefs coach Andy Reid, who never won a Super Bowl, is getting $7.5 million a year. So is Bill Belichick. Mike Tomlin of the Steelers is getting paid $7 million a year. So is Pete Carroll of the Seahawks. Andy Reid's the only one in that bunch that's not a Super Bowl champion. But see, here's where it gets interesting. Here's where it gets very interesting. This is the same Raiders organization about to pay this coach $100 million, but they took $750 million from Vegas to build a new stadium. The other thing that's important to point out here is this, and this is why I bring this up. Ladies and gentlemen, remember all that talk we've been talking about over the last hour? Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, whatever the case may be. Forget Tom Brady. Forget Alex Guerrero. Forget the stress and the strain of being in New England. If you are Bill Belichick and you just watched a man in John Gruden, who we all respect, but won a Super Bowl championship with Tony Dungy's team. His last 6 seasons as an NFL coach, he went 45-51 and 0-2 in the playoffs. Who hasn't coached since 2008. If you just watch this man get $100 million, if you're Bill Belichick, how much are you worth? How much are you worth? John Gruden was 38-26, 2-2 in the playoffs for Oakland. This dude, Bill Belichick, is a 5-time Super Bowl champion. How much money are you worth if you're Bill Belichick? Robert Kraft, I think you're about to say goodbye to Bill Belichick. Because if I'm Bill Belichick and John Gruden gets $100 million, I mean, please.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
As I sit here today, ready to damn near throw up, I like John Gruden. I respect John Gruden, the football mind that he is, and I'm happy for him. This 10-year, $100 million contract, as long as it didn't involve ownership, because that had nothing to do with him. It's just that it's precedent setting, and if you're going to set a precedent like that, it can't be for John Gruden. It's got to be for only one man, and that's Bill Belichick. So, man, if I'm Bill Belichick today, and I love me, I cannot put this into words greater enough. I don't just respect Robert Kraft. I revere this man. We talk periodically. He's a good man. I talk to several owners in the NFL. He's one of them. He's a good man, and I love him. And I vouch for who he is and what he stands for. But if I'm Bill Belichick, after I see John Gruden get this money, I ain't going to lie to you. I got to look to go somewhere else. I can't sit by and watch John Gruden get $100 million if I'm Bill Belichick. I'm a 5-time champion. Hell, let me stop right there. I love Andy Reid. Known him for years. Covered him in Philadelphia. I'm Bill Belichick. Andy Reid getting more money than me is a problem. And you don't worry about what other people make. You worry about your own wallet. I understand that. But in terms of principle, in terms of a level of productivity, I got to admit it to you. I'm asking myself that question. Andy Reid. We're going to get into the playoffs this weekend because guess what? You Andy Reid. Look, man. You got to win. You've been to one Super Bowl. You've never won a Super Bowl. You've been coaching 19 years. You got to win. See, to me, the most dangerous team is the Los Angeles Rams with this kid, Sean McVay, who's my coach of the year. Because you playing with house money. I mean, everything is an upside after Jeff Fisher, who, by the way, absolutely made me. I don't think I laughed that hard since watching Dave Chappelle or Martin Lawrence. When I saw that quote from Jeff Fisher a week ago talking about he deserves some credit for where they are, I almost wanted to laugh. I think my man Rich Eisen for the NFL Network, who I love. But I must admit on a personal level, I'm biased because I used to work with his wife, who is just, she's a special lady, and I love her dearly. I miss her, too. Good person. But I got to tell you, when Rich Eisen came up, Jeff Fisher won credit. I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact quote. But he said, sure, we sent him a trophy, congratulations or something for winning the division. But it probably wouldn't arrive to him until 6 to 9 or 7, 6 to 10 or 7 to 9 days. That was funny. Because that's who Jeff Fisher is. Mr. 6 and 10 or 7 to 9. But I digress. I'm looking at all of these people getting money and getting credit, and a Bill Belichick, we talk about how his days in New England might be numbered. If John Gruden gets 10 years and $100 million, what is Bill Belichick worth? John Gruden, congratulations. I'm happy for you. Wish you nothing but the best. I think he'll eventually win a Super Bowl with Derek Carr. I really do. Eventually. But I got to ask this question again. If John Gruden is worth 10 years, $100 million, what is Bill Belichick worth? I'm just asking. Because I got to admit to you, it doesn't make much sense to me. John Gruden, last time he coached was the Tuck Bowl game. You know, the Tuck Rule game. January 19th, 2002, I believe that was the date. They lost that game, which they should not have. They got robbed. John Gruden was then basically traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when Tony Dungy got screwed over. And Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl with Tony Dungy's team. Last 6 years in the NFL, 45-51. Never won a playoff game. Comes into the Monday night booth. You know, let me politic for the Monday night job right now. Not as a football analyst, because I know I don't know football like that. I know the game as a fan. I know the game as a reporter. I don't know the game the way John Gruden and others know the game. But if you got a two-man booth with an expert like John Gruden in the booth, put me in there. Let me be the modern-day Howard Cosell of that Monday Night Football booth, that third wheel. Because evidently getting a job like that ensures lifetime security. I mean, you got to be kidding me. 45-51 your last 6 years in the league. Don't win a playoff game. Then disappear for 10 years as a coach because you're in the booth doing a great job calling Monday Night Football games. And somehow that parlays in $100 million? ESPN, can I please get in the Monday Night Football booth? Pretty please with sugar on top. Put me up in there. That kind of job security I want. You got to be kidding me. 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to the calls. And it is appropriate that I put my man on first. Hadn't heard from him in a few days. Happy New Year to my buddy, formerly from Massachusetts, now in Tampa, Florida. Carlton, my resident Bill Belichick hater. He's on the line with yours truly. Happy New Year, buddy. How you doing?
Happy New Year to you, Stephen A. You changed your number. I was calling the old number there for a while.
Yeah, don't worry. You got it now. They went it from, 866 to 888. So it's 888-729-3776 now, as you well know. But Carlton, the floor is yours, buddy. Take it away.
Let me tell you what's going on here. The evil Bill Belichick wanted Tom Brady to walk the plank. And the owner of the ship, Robert Kraft, intervened, and Bill Belichick is setting the ship on fire because he's going to say goodbye after this year, okay? This is the Bill Belichick who is 18-19 as a head coach of the New England Patriots without Tom Brady. He's got a losing record when Tom Brady hasn't started for him. This is the coach who immediately when he was confronted with deflating footballs, which he was doing for 8 years, threw it right in Tom Brady's lap. If you remember, it was Tom Brady's friend who texted him immediately after Bill Belichick's press conference that said, he just dumped this whole mess right in your lap. And ever since then, there's been a rift between the two. And the whole Alex Guerrero mess.
So you agreed with me on First Take this morning when I brought up Deflategate and how Bill Belichick threw Tom Brady to the Wolves. And I said that may have played the role in the separation that appears, or the schism that appears to have existed or to be existing between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So you agree with that?
I've been telling you that for 2.5 years here, Stephen A. You know that. I mean, I believe Tom Brady had nothing to do with Deflategate. He knew the balls were being deflated, but this was Bill Belichick's maniacal focus on turnovers, on limiting fumbles. That's why he was deflating footballs. Okay? And so Tom Brady has won this battle, and Bill Belichick is burning down the house. He traded Jacoby Brissett for a busted receiver, a former first-round draft choice who's caught all of 63 balls in 41 games in his 3 seasons in the NFL. He makes a sweetheart deal with Shanahan, trading him for a second-round pick without shopping Garoppolo all over the league beforehand. He is reportedly helping Patricia and McDaniels for the first time prep for their upcoming job interviews. They've been on other head coaching job interviews in years past. Bill is reportedly helping them now for the first time. He is going to say goodbye. And my best bet, you know where my best bet is he's going? He's going to go to the Lions. Bob Quinn's the general manager there, who was an executive with the Patriots for 13 years, up until 2012 or 13. And Ford there will pay him could pay him a bucket load of money to come on in there. And if he doesn't go there, maybe he'll show up if Irsay is crazy enough, in Colt land, and he'll have Andrew Luck, and his backup will be Jacoby Brissett, the guy he just let go for a song. This is the evil Bill Belichick. And we also tell that nutcase that is, partner with you, by the way, on your first take, Max, who now has Jimmy Garoppolo in the Hall of Fame. That in Jimmy Garoppolo's first game, he won it only because Mike Catanzaro missed an indoor 46-yard field goal. This is last season. In his second game, he didn't last 2 quarters before he goes out of the game. In his third game, he beat the Bears this year, scoring 15 points. He beat Jacksonville, which Max went on and on about what a great win it was, when Bortles threw 3 interceptions, his worst game of the season. That's the only way Jimmy Garoppolo beat the Jaguars, and he beat the Rams in the last game of the season when they sacked every single starter, and Max has him in the Hall of Fame. The guy has 6 touchdowns and 5 picks in his 5 starts this year, and Max has him in the Hall of Fame. Max has got to get a grip. Absolutely got to get a grip.
I got you, Carlton. I appreciate the call, Carlton. Thank you so much.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.